Hello again, class, and we'll pick up here with Act 1, Scene 5. Macbeth comes home, right, and she greets him, great gloms, worthy corridor, greater than both by the all hail hereafter. Thy letters have transported me beyond this ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant. Ooh, what an interesting way to greet him. And he calls her my dearest love. Duncan comes here tonight and when goes hence tomorrow as he purposes. Oh, never shall sun that morrow see. He's not going to wake up tomorrow, but notice how she says it beautifully in Shakespearean uh, lingo, right? Never shall sun that morrow see. Look at the um, alliterations, the repetition of the S sound. When you have repetition of S sounds specifically, it's called sibilance. Consonants, assonance, and sibilance is the repetition of that S or hissing sound. Stress consonants are created deliberately. Um, such consonants produce hissing sounds. Um, it is used as a stylistic device, right, for emphasis. Never shall sun that morrow see, right? And she says, your face, my fane, is as a book where men may read strange matters. That whole idea of appearances versus reality, again, seeming versus being. Duncan said there is no art to judge the mind's construction by the face. And she's saying, I can read you like a book. But she's saying you have to appear one way, but in reality be another if you're going to be duplicitous and deceptive, right? To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Again, kind of that allusion in some ways to the Bible when the devil pretended to be someone else, right? He disguised himself as a snake. Um, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. And again, that's what when people are going to be duplicitous and deceiving, right? It involves uh, masking one's appearance uh, so that you're not going to give yourself away. Um, He that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put this night's great business into my dispatch, which shall to all our nights and days to come give solely sovereign sway and masterdom. And he says, we will speak further. Wait, we're going to talk about this, right? And she says, only look up clear. To alter favor ever is to fear. Leave all the rest to me. Again, you have to appear this way. You don't want to arouse suspicion. I'll take care of it. She's the mastermind here, right? And so what happens in this next scene? Duncan arrives, and you notice how she acts as if she's so happy to see him, and we're doing everything for you. And he says, "Oh, it's so great to be here," right? And she says, line 14, "All our service in every point twice done, and then done double. We're doing everything for you." Act 1, Scene 6. Right? And then Duncan says, "Where's the Thane of Corridor?" You know, he hurried home. We lost him because he's so excited to see you. His great love, sharp as his spur, hath uh, help him to his home before us. Uh, his great love, like a spur on a boot, right? To get the horse to go faster. The love spurred him on to come home. So again, we see that he refers to her as his dearest love. Everybody knows how much he loves her, right? So again, they exit, and now Act 1, Scene 7. Macbeth is in a moment of omniscience telling us that he understands that not only should he not do this, it's illogical, but there are going to be consequences. He says, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well, it were done quickly. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence and catch with his surcease success, that blow, that but this blow might be the be all and the end all, right? So he's saying if all I had to do is kill him, and I believe this is where that expression be all and end all is. If all I had to do is kill him and then everything would, that would be it, everything would be fine, there'd be no negative effects from that. other than the afterlife, I'd do it. But here upon this bank and shoal of time, we jump the life to come. But in these cases, we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instructions, which being taught return the plague the inventor, and this even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poison chalice to our own lips. He's saying what? Yes, right? If there were no consequences, if it was the be all and end all, I murdered him and that was it, I'd do it. But there's going to be consequences. And what if killing Duncan and I become king, I just teach other people how to successfully kill a king? Because remember, Cawdor tried it and it didn't work because of Macbeth and Banquo. So he's saying, right, we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instructions, which being taught return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our own poison chalice to our own lips. There's going to be blowback. There's going to be, right, consequences. And one of them might just be that he's showing someone how to successfully overthrow the king, right? And then he says he's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman, as his subject, strong both against the deed, then as his host, who should against his murder shut the door, not bear the knife myself. He trusts me for two reasons. One, because I work for him, and two, because I hosted him at my house, right? Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, hath been so clear in his great office, right? He's a good guy. And again, that whole idea, is he too nice? Does he lack that mean streak, right? Is he too full of the milk of human kindness that Lady Macbeth feels Macbeth is? Is Duncan also like that? Is that a sign of weakness for a king, right? So if I kill him, right, he's been so great and everybody loves him that his virtues will plead like angels trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off. And pity, right? Everybody's going to feel bad. Like a naked newborn babe striding the blast, or heaven's cherubim, horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air, shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind, right? He's saying, wow, there's all these reasons that he just outlined for us that he should not kill Duncan. But what does he say? I have no spur. Again, this idea of the spur, something that spurs you on. Just like if you kick a horse with that sharp spur on the back of your boot, it motivates the horse to get going. I have nothing to motivate me, right? I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, just like you'd pick the side of a horse, but only, look at the adjective here, what kind of ambition? Vaulting ambition, which overleaps itself and falls on the other. Not the logical kind of ambition, right? Ambition that is spurred on by hubris, right? Thinking, right, I'm going to do something that I know I shouldn't do because I think I'll get away with it, right? Again, those of you that are writing about courage, we see here that ambition, which in some ways could be a form of courage in some ways, right, can also be a negative thing if it's not logical. It's good to want to improve your social standing in life, right? Your identity. Again, here we go, ambition, courage, identity. But at what expense of other people do you do it? Do you have to step over someone or step on someone, which vaulting illogical ambition, which overleaps itself and falls on the other? So who arrives, and in a series of violent and horrifying images, it's this moment that she is now able to persuade him, even though he tells us, I have no reason to do it. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, only vaulting ambition. She comes in, right? She says, what are you doing? And he says, we're not going to do this. He's honored me, right? I don't want to do it. And she says, what? Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since, and wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time such I account thy love. Right? You told me you were going to do something, and now you're saying you're not going to do it. So from here on out, I guess that's how I'll feel about your love when you tell me you love me, right? Is this, can I not take your word? Right? But the interesting thing is he never really committed to killing Duncan. If you remember, she was the one who says, leave all the rest to me, because he's like, we're still going to talk about this, right? And so here it is. So if you love me, you'll do it. And then she says, art thou afeared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldest thou have that which thou esteem the ornament of life, and live like a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage? And he says, prithee, peace, I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. And she says, what beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. If you love me, and if you're a man, both based on illogical hidden assumptions that we show our love through murdering and we show our masculinity through murdering, right? Nor time nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make it both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. She's saying, right? Everything's set. Now, here it is. Here's the thing that convinces him. She says, if I told you that I was going to do something, no matter how difficult it would be to do it, I'd do it. And her example is extremely horrific and graphic and disturbing. I have given suck and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn, as you have done to this. This is a very interesting quote, because she's saying, I've nursed a child and I would rip the child off of my nipple and smash it against the wall. Very horrible, very graphic, very disturbing, if I told you I was going to do it. Now, again, where is this child? Right? There's no, and I'm not a spoiler alert or anything, but there's no mention of their child later in the play. And furthermore, the child is referred to as a he. So later in the play, keep that in mind as Macbeth worries about how his line will live on. If one wants one's line to live on, the simplest way to do that is to have a child, to have a son. But again, this is problematic. This definitely suggests, something in the past. And is just a hypothetical example? I don't think so, because she says, I have given suck. So she has nursed a baby. So if they had a child and that child is no longer living, what more poignant example to say, if I told you I would do something, I would do it, even if I said I would do it to our only child, I would have done it to the child, right? That's how much I love you. That's how much I'll keep my word. And this is the example that gets him. It's just extremely horrifying. And he says, right? Then he says, if we should fail, and she says, we fail. But screw your courage, again, courage, but screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail. And then she explains, I mean, she's going to essentially roofie them. She's going to use alcohol to manipulate the guards, right? And when they're drunk, right, memory will be something, and the receipt of reason a limbeck only, right? They won't remember anything. They're going to wake up all hung over, essentially. And she says, what can we not do? And then we'll pretend that, oh my gosh, this is horrible, right? And he says, bring forth men, children only, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. I believe something to be said about her femininity here as well. And he says, will it not be received when we marked with blood those sleepy two of his own chamber and use their daggers that they have done? He says, aren't people going to be suspicious? And she said, why wouldn't they? As we shall make our griefs and clamor war upon their death. Of course, they're going to think the guards did it, because we're going to draw attention away from ourselves. We're going to be duplicitous, and we're going to act like we're so surprised that this happened. We're going to seem in our outward appearance that we are shocked by this, but the reality is we're the guilty murderers. And so what does he say? I mean, in such a short scene, he goes from saying, we will speak no further, we will not do this, right? I'm settled, right? To not do it. Now he says, I'm settled to do it. Just like that, she was able to convince him in the scene because of her manipulation, because of her hidden assumptions, and because of her fallacious appeals, right? He says, I am settled and bend each corporal agent to this terrible feat. He knows it's terrible. The use of the adjective, away, and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know. Again, this notion of their duplicity and the fact that it rhymes. Whenever Shakespeare has something really important to say, he makes it rhyme for emphasis. And that repetition of false, that alliteration with the repetition of the F sounds. And it kind of comes back to the idea of seeming versus reality, and what's fair is foul and foul is fair. Crazy scene, crazy scene. But that brings us to the end of Act 1. I hope this was helpful. And for those of you who are looking to do literary analysis of Macbeth for Essay 3, I hope I pointed out how certain paper topics would be very, very appropriate for an analysis incorporating Macbeth. Identity, courage, right? Progress, right? Because they do make progress in their plan, but it's not logical progress. So that being said, I hope this was helpful. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.